see, do I have any stories about traveling? And then it kind of hit me. I really do, but it's a terrible, terrible story. Not terrible in it's nothing bad happened. It's just, my story is called Last Leg. And Gabe gave my story the title Last Leg, which to me kind of is maybe karmic retribution because I'm going to have meniscus surgery on Thursday, you know. So I have one leg left. But I really wanted to call this story, Does It Make Me the Worst Person in the World If I Laugh? So the story takes place sometime in the early 90s, and I can't remember which 1990 it was, but it was somewhere between 91 and 93. And you may not know that I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, in a place called Park Slope, Brooklyn. And I lived there with my wife, and this is before we had any kids. And my wife, who is with us this evening, is kind of like a fashionista, except she hates spending money on fashion. So she signed up for something called a newsletter that talked about sample sales. It gave you the list of all the sample sales that the fashion houses were doing in New York on any given weekend. The sample sales were always like on a Saturday. And a sample sale is an amazing thing. Like a designer will do a line of clothes, right? And they make them in certain sizes for showing, for models, whatever. And they have to sell them. So in the garment district, they sell them on a Saturday. And if you know where all the sample sales are, you can look like fabulous. You can look really great for no money at all because the stuff is really, really cheap. So, you know, she gets this newsletter and she says, well, you know, there's this really great sample sale and we have to go. I thought, well, okay, we have to go. She says we have to go, we have to go. So we get on the IRT and we start at a place called Grand Army Plaza, and we go to the subway, and we go down the stairs, and you kind of descend into this different kind of world. It smells different. It smells like ozone and machinery, and the air isn't blowing. It's kind of still down there, and you wait for the train to show up. And the New York City subway is an interesting thing. If you've ever traveled on the New York City subway, it's like any other train you see. It's made out of a number of different cars, but each car in the New York City subway, for anybody that's used to traveling by subway, it's kind of like captive theater. You know, you get into the car, and if you don't like the show that's happening in the car, you can go to like another show, and it's only like $1 and change to like go from show to show to show. But some of the shows are different than other. You know, some of the shows are air conditioned. Some of the shows aren't air conditioned, you know. Some of the shows are loud, and others do feature. So Saturday, you know, we go down the stairs, and we're right in the middle of the train. We get on the train at Grand Army Plaza, and the doors close, and I sit down. And Jessica sits down next to me, and the door is over here to get out. And diagonally across from us. Now, this isn't the kind of train that has the seats that go like this. This is the benches where you face each other. It's forced theater. So I sit down, and there's a guy sitting across from us, and he's the only other guy on the train. He's diagonally across. He's like 10 feet away, closer to me than Robert is right now. And he's a middle-aged white guy. And he's got gray hair, and he's wearing work jeans and a denim jacket, and he's got a black baseball cap on. And the baseball cap has the letters IBEW, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. And it's a Saturday. And he's not happy about being on the train because he got called into work. Doesn't matter that it's double time and a half or whatever the guy from the IBEW would be getting. So he's sitting there, and he's grumpy. He's sitting there with his arms folded, and he does not want to engage in the show at all. So we sit down, the train leaves, Grand Army Plaza, and in between the cars, as soon as the train starts rolling, the doors open up, and a guy gets in, and the guy is missing his left leg. He's got crutches, and he's got a paper cup, and he comes into the car, and he realizes there's like 3 people in the car. And as soon as that realization comes to him, the conductor's door opens, and the middle car conductor's door. It's like a little cubby. And the conductor's door opens up, and like by a miracle, he actually is friends with the conductor. It's like, oh, hey, man, how are you? I'm great, how are you? Fancy seeing you here. Fancy seeing you here. They start up a conversation. They're engaged. They're talking. And then, it's not really paying attention. The train keeps going. Shortly thereafter, the door on the other side, in between the cars, opens up, and another guy gets in. And he's missing his right leg. It's true. It's true. He's in much worse shape. He's not vibrant. He's kind of run down, and he's got his cup too. And he looks up, and he does one of these. He's looking like, what the? Like, you're working my car? And the other guy and the conductor look at him, and they're like, can't go figure, how'd that happen? And I look at Jessica, and Jessica looks at me, and we're like this. And I look at the guy from the IBEW, and he's like this. Nothing's going to penetrate. So the train continues on. Next stop is Bergen Street. The door's open. The door's closed. Nobody gets on. And we still have the Mexican standoff. Nobody's moving. They will not ask for money to cross each other's path. Some vortex of horribleness may happen when they pass, and who knows. So the doors close at Bergen Street. And I should take a break to tell you that there's just 3 different kinds of shows that you're likely to see on the New York City subway, I have found in my experience. The first kind of show is kind of fun. It's like, there could be music, people playing drums. There could be people using the poles to do like pole dancing. That's always a lot of fun. There's all sorts of different shows. So that's one kind of show. The second kind of show is fairly straightforward. Somebody will come on and they'll say, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry for interrupting your commute this morning, but I have this problem. Can you please help me out? I work with the United Homeless Organization. We're trying to, whatever it is. And then the third kind of show, which I like because it's entertaining, starts this way. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to talk to you for a moment about your immortal soul and Jesus. And that one happens all the time. It doesn't go over so well in the Hasidic neighborhoods, by the way, in case you were wondering. Back to the IRT number 2 train. So the train continues on. One guy's looking at the other guy. There's this Mexican standoff. And sure enough, the car doors open right before we get to Atlantic Avenue, which is it's a major hub where people get off the Long Island Railroad, and you're likely to see more people enter the show off your train car at this particular stop. So the door opens up at the left-hand side of the car, right next to the guy who was the second one-legged man to get on this train car. The door opens up, and the guy with no legs on a skateboard wheels himself in to the car, and he looks down at the car at the one guy with one leg, and then he looks up at the other guy with one leg, and at that moment I look at Jessica. No. And out of the corner of my eye, I see the convulsing shoulders. I look over, there's a tear flying down the face. It's bizarre. You can't write this stuff. So the train pulls into Atlantic Avenue, and the doors open up. I look over at the guy from the IBEW. Nothing. Not a thing. He's superhuman. How did he do it? Does he not get it? I get it. In walks a woman. She looks down. There's a guy with no legs wheeling by her, looking up, shaking his head. Then she looks down and sees the guy at the right side of the car, and she goes like this. And then she looks down and sees the guy at the left end of the car, and she walks through the car and she says, "Oh, Lordy Jesus." Thank you very much.